Okay. Okay, looks like we have some people already in. We'll be waiting a couple more minutes to give everybody a chance to join us. So this is the more appropriate screen for that. If you have any question, comments, feel free to use the chat either in Zoom or in the application itself. I am monitoring both of them. Okay. So as mentioned before, we'll give a couple more minutes for everybody to join in. Feel free to use the chat to ask any question or the polls, and I will be answering them as we go on. Hi, Felipe. Nice to see you here. Anyhow, a reminder, after this, there is a social session, which is similar to this, but everybody is allowed to talk. So just like a general Zoom meeting. Okay. So I will be waiting for a couple more minutes for people to join in. Again, if you have any question, feel free to ask them. Or if you just want to say hi in the chat, that's also a nice thing to do. And as a preview, I'll be talking about Meteor Community, Meetups, and Impact. So it's more of an introductory talk of where everything is in the Meteor community. And towards the end, I'll have a couple of announcements regarding Meteor Impact and explanation about Meteor Meetups and how everything works here. All right, people are still coming in. Just a reminder, giving a couple minutes for people to join in. Let me double check how many people are we actually expecting for this. Oh, wow, that has grown. Okay. So yeah, for everybody new, again, still waiting like a minute or two before we start so that everybody can join us. Since it's first meeting, I accept people will be trying to figure out all the details, how to get things working, and it's better to give them a little bit more time. Okay, so we'll be starting in about 1 minute. So that should be enough of time. Awesome. So as you can see, I'm playing a little bit with OBS, but I think it's probably time to get started then, if I can get my Windows sorted out, that is. Okay, it should be it. All right, so welcome everybody once more. This is a introduction to Meteor Community and all the resources, followed by kind of introduction to Meteor Meetups and some announcements about Meteor Impact coming later this year. This is part of the Meteor New York City community, which I was a proud member when I was living in New York. And Alim asked me to do this intro presentation for them as we are moving to Meteor Meetups. So who am I? I am Jan Dvorak, aka Storyteller, as you might know me from the forums. I have been with Meteor since 2014. Recently, I have been involved with Meteor Community packages and kind of been the driving force behind Meteor Impact. I am also, especially recently, a Meteor contributor. And you can find me on GitHub at Storyteller CZ. So once again, today I'll be going over different resources that are available for you in the Meteor community, starting with some official resources because there have been some amazing improvements over the last year, and then switching to the community resources, which are constantly evolving. And there's also, we could say, a bit of a mix and intermingling between those two. So first, let's get started with the obvious Meteor Cloud, which originally were, let's say, 3 or 4 services that were loosely connected via the Meteor accounts. It's the meteor.com website where you can see your Meteor developer profile. We have the Galaxy hosting, under which comes the APM. And then we have Atmosphere, which is for hosting packages. Recently, these servers have been kind of put together under Meteor Cloud, and there's an ongoing effort to continuously integrate them and expand the services. I think the most notably what you can see it is on the Meteor website itself. And let's see if, so this is the Meteor website. As you all probably know, we have all the nice things and the open source. You have all the links to all that I will be covering as well. And Meteor Cloud, which in this case is for Galaxy. And you can find all the other information that's needed. And once you log in, you have access about all your Meteor developer account rated stuff. So one of the most important, let's say, part of Meteor is the Meteor documentation, which you can find at docs.meteor.com. All of those links or all the pages and much more that I'll be talking about is in the talk's description, so you can go in and check them out. And Meteor documentation is exactly what it says. It contains all the information about all the API. You can edit it. The code is on GitHub. One big interesting thing is that it's integrated with Meteor codebase itself. So for example, as you are seeing here, the information about the config option for accounts, that is actually information that's gotten from the code itself, from the comments in the package itself. So whenever there is any change in the code and there happens to be a change in the API, the developer just has to change the comments there and fix them to be properly. And then it's just a matter of quick update in the documentation itself to get the latest information to you. So this makes it super easy for documentation to be kept up to date. Another important point to notice here also is that there is a dedicated documentation for Galaxy hosting. So if you are hosting on Galaxy, you will see the links in there. Next big things are Meteor tutorials. I'll just move myself so I'm smaller and can see. There are tutorials for all the five, or say the five major front ends, traditional Blaze, of course, the big React, Angular, Vue, and Svelte. Currently, 3 of them are already migrated to a new version, and the other 2 are in the process of migration. So that those tutorials are independent on their own, and this new format allows for addition of new tutorials. So if you are brave enough or interested in creating new tutorials for Meteor, that we have a nice template for that, and you can easily create new tutorials with all the appropriate presentation and sources that's in it there. Another big thing that's currently worked on doesn't have any dedicated page. It has a dedicated GitHub repository, our Meteor examples. For me personally, I'm importing there some old Meteor examples from, some of them are even before Meteor 1.0 days. And it's surprising how they still work very well after the migration, which requires very little effort on my part to get them working again. So that's something that I think that you will be hearing more about in the future. Now, another big part of Meteor is the Meteor Guide. That's a constantly evolving resource about how to build, Meteor applications properly, what other options are there. And this takes into account the entire Meteor ecosystem. So it also includes community packages. In this case, here is a talk about defining a schema featuring the simple schema package, which has become the de facto standard for this, even though there are alternatives. And since that, this is constantly evolving and people are putting their best practices, also a de facto guide on how to build Meteor application properly so that can scale and do all the other amazing things. So then we have the more community-oriented resources like Meteor blog. As you can see, most recently there is my article about the new Meteor Meetups, and it's this official Meteor blog is a mix of different things. You have announcements like for the Meteor Meetups, then you have case studies or different helpful tips how to do things, or highlighting different new features for Meteor, or maybe sometimes some obscure features. So that's definitely something worth checking. And as we can see here, and there is also a lot of history. One of my favorite Meteor fibers, Meteor promises, meets callback, goes again under the guide section, how to navigate between those three functionalities and how to manage between them. And jumping back to the presentation. Now, probably the most active part of the Meteor community are the Meteor Forums. This is the main community hub. You can log in there with your Meteor account, which you can create on meteor.com. And in here is, as I mentioned, it's the main hub. So we have everything, all the announcements about whatever is happening in the community. You can find them here. You can find discussion about hot topics, like what should be deprecated in the main code base as we move forward so that old features don't hold us back, while also maintaining backward compatibility and other spicy discussions, but also, especially as recently as Meteor has become more and more mature, there is a lot of questions that we answer. And so in a way, it also kind of acts like a Stack Overflow question and answer section. So then we have podcast.meteor.com. This hosts the official Meteor podcast, aka Meteor Monthly Wrap Up, which usually summarizes what happened in the past month or so in the Meteor community with the official development and what we have going forward. You can get this podcast on, Spotify and all the other necessary streaming options that are out there. So it's super accessible, and especially if you don't have a lot of time to constantly keep up what's going on with the Meteor community, this is a nice summary of what's going on. And then we have obviously the center of development, which is the official GitHub, where we have the Meteor code base itself. We have the documentation and guides and tutorials, sources, and all the necessary related technologies that underpin Meteor and the official packages and efforts. So, and that's github.com/Meteor. Would highly encourage you to all, if you haven't done already, I hope to check it out, and maybe not just the official Meteor repository, but also kind of look around, because sometimes you can find some very interesting projects as well. And beside all of that, you can find the official Meteor accounts also on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and unofficial community one on Minds. You have also a couple of smaller communities on it as well, but say these are kind of the main ones. Now we are moving off to the community section, and probably best to start off with Meteor community packages and what the hell is this. So Meteor community packages started, well, now it's 2 years back. It was shortly before the Tiny acquisition, and the idea was to create an organization, an umbrella that's going to take care of important community packages. So things like Collection 2, Iron Router, and Meteor Desktop, and a lot of other packages, in order to ensure continuity, so that if the original developer doesn't no longer have time to continue develop them, or for example, they want to kind of make sure that if something happens to them, that people can continue on, or if for example, in case like Picker, which is a server-side router, it has been abandoned, then it gets transferred to or forked to the community, and then we just ensure that any outstanding pull requests get merged, new versions get published, and that there is always someone that can go in, merge pull requests, publish new versions, set new maintainers, and go on. We kind of evolved a bit more from that, that we are now helping in coordinating other activities, like, for example, the community newsletter, which is under my coordination, and that comes occasionally, usually coinciding with or announcing release of new Meteor versions. And most recently, we have started organizing community events and initiatives. More specifically, it's the Meteor Meetups and the Meteor Impact. So that's kind of what we are about. And if you have some ideas of what you want to do with the Meteor community, feel free to come in and join us. And just put your idea out there and see if people want to join in on that. So related to that, this is kind of my, let's say, first announcement. We have here a new meteor.js.community website. If you were unfortunate enough to have a look previously, it was a very ugly attempt at a static site. This one has the same theme as the Meteor Cloud pages, as you can see. We'll probably go further from that, but even this is still a temporary website. And the main point here is to kind of give an overview of all the things that the community is going and give access to, very easy access to it. So for example, with newsletter, it mentions that I'm the manager, some description on what's going on, and a sign up form for the newsletter if you want to join in. Same thing with Slack. Here's a quick link to join the Slack. About meetups, who is the manager, about Impact, and then obviously about all the different packages that are managed here with whoever is managing it, and where to get some additional information. So GitHub repository, Atmosphere, and so on. So in this case, auto form. Again, the same thing like with the documentation. It's available on the Meteor community GitHub. There's a repository for it, so anybody can go in, or you can just click here and edit any of those pages. And then I'll just merge it and publish a new version. So one big thing about this is just another transitional website just to get their information. We have some more plans coming down the road for this website. I want to make it more interactive. The idea is that it's going to be a crossroad for all the Meteor community packages activities, and hopefully much more. We have a lot of ideas, but as always, we don't have the necessary time to make that happen immediately. So it's going to take a while. So in the meantime, we have this information crossroad. Now, I have quickly mentioned there, we have also a new, say, community effort called Packosphere, which is a community alternative to Atmosphere. This project was started in probably 3 years back, when Atmosphere was really lacking, and there wasn't really much response from MDG what to do about it. So people started building Packosphere. Right now, it's primarily developed by Kelly Copley. Please give me some love. And it still has a long way to go, but I would say it has two things that's currently lacking to Atmosphere. First, it shows, as you can see with the LD collection 2 picture there, that it's maintained by the community packages using our logo. And then if it's a package that's super old, like over there, 5 years old, that there is a red warning that you should probably be bit more careful about using that package and do some investigation before that. So let me, I can find my window. No. Let me give you, this is how currently Atmosphere looks. As you may have known, you can see we have the check marks for verified accounts. And if we jump, this is Packosphere. Here I have a sample for fast render. Again, you can also log in with your Meteor developer account. And here we have our Meteor Community packages, fast render. It's exactly the same. This is just a view layer with some information. And Kalle has mentioned that he has still a lot more that he wants to add. So that's for this nice thing. Now, I could say the second or kind of the most real-time communication that happens in community is happening on community Slack. And that, again, that was started by Kelly and kind of grew out. And even though it's community maintained, you can find both Meteor community packages members there and also Meteor software employees as well. So you can find Felipe there. You know, if you need something from him, ping him and talk to him. And you can also see that Felipe and other like to announce things in the Slack as well. It's a nice way to reach the community and coordinate on different aspects at real time. Now, there's also a lot of other additional resources, and I could probably spend hours talking about it, but I think just quick mentions we'll have to do, and especially when it comes to things like personal blogs and stuff like that, it's up to you to explore. So first of all, I would like to mention Vulkan. Vulkan is a full stack React Plus and GraphQL framework based on Meteor, done also by Meteor, or also held by Meteor members, or community members. There's also Stack Overflow where you can ask questions, but it's probably much faster if you go into the forums or on Slack. There is a Discord channel, though not as much used, but if you want to have, with other community members, a voice chat, that's a nice place to go. There's multiple YouTube channels. There's official one. There is one that Felipe has on how to create an app. And we have also level up tutorials. There are courses on Udemy as well. And people like me and Kuster and other are publishing on dev.to articles. And finally, there are also personal and company blogs. So probably the two that I highlighted here or highlighted in the descriptions are from Zodern and from Vasco. Vasco is a Polish Meteor shop. So looking for what they are going to have tell us in the future. If you want me to add some additional blogs or people that I have missed, please write in the chat, and I will be more than happy to add them. There's also a bit of problem that what you'll encounter is that there's a lot of resources that are outdated. For example, Discover Meteor that I have listed here. Yeah, and even though it's outdated, it still has a lot of useful information and nice tutorials. So that's one thing why I'm also building this list of resources. Now to the more of a announcement part. Right now we are on the Meteor Meetups platform. It's a new platform. Alim Ghaffar from Meteor New York City came to me a couple of months ago that he wanted to really get started with online Meteor meetups, especially given the world situation. And given that meetups.com no longer satisfied the needs, so we moved to Pathable platform. And the idea is that we'll establish local groups, probably starting from larger ones and eventually splitting into smaller ones. And we'll be able to eventually support both virtual, like this one, and then, as I call it, away from keyboard meetups or meetups in real life, whichever terminology do you like. Currently, we have 3 fully established local groups. That's Meteor New York City, Prague, and Deutsch. Da würde auch explain Deutsch sprechen. So these groups can also move to be more local. So for example, as I said, Deutsch will have content in German as well, aside from English. I have also people interested in having groups in Budapest, Tehran, and Korea, and Dorados. So that's Felipe's group. So we hope that we can extend this so that it's more accessible to developers that don't have as good English skills as everybody else here. And let's just take a quick look. So if you go to local groups, you will see this nice listing. And for example, if you go to the one here for Prague, you'll see, notice here some general information. You will know who is the committee organizer, what are the local companies, and who are the other members in the community. Eventually, there's also going to be more information in regards of about the community itself. Right now, we have it set up that once you in your profile set your location and city, then you will be automatically added to the group as a member, or at least to the one that we have established. So, and if you add any new locations, then we'll go ahead and eventually add them to the groups filtering, so you'll be added into there as well. So now to the big announcements for Meteor Impact. But first, Meteor Impact was started last year. It's kind of towards the end of September. I decided we really need a conference. So I went ahead and started the process. We had, I would say, a great showing with Impact 2020. And I can now announce that the Impact 2021 website is now live, impact.meteor.com. Registration and presentation proposals are now open. The deadline for proposals is the 30th of September, so there is still a lot of time, but obviously if you have already an idea, then feel free to add it into the form and let us know what you want to do. I can announce now that we will have Harry Adel and Jan Kuster returning as speakers, and you can already see their talks in the agenda. I believe Felipe will be joining us as well, again, announcing all the newest and greatest about what's going on with Meteor, possibly Meteor 3.0, who knows? Guess we'll have him surprise us as last time. And that is it for the moment. We are planning to do a bit more, hopefully create some sort of a sponsorship option. You know, if your company would be willing or interested in sponsoring, or maybe just being an exhibitor at Meteor Impact, please let me know, and we'll see what we can figure out to make it worth your time. The Pathable platform provides us with a lot of different options, so and we can do a lot of stuff there. So we kind of reached the end of my presentation right on time. So right now is a good time to ask Any questions? And from Laurent, this is kind of question to anybody present and listening afterwards. Is anybody interested in local group in French? If yes, get together with Laurent Roger, or send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to get you started and prepare a local group here on this platform. Right now we have the idea that the meetups are going to happen at least once a quarter for each group, but obviously each group is going to be different, and it will depend on how many people join in and how active they are. So that's all, again, depending on what people are doing. So any questions? Feel free. As mentioned at the beginning, this entire presentation is being recorded and will be available later. So if somebody misses it and wants to watch it, that's possible. This will also be the case with all other presentation happening on this platform, unless you specify or unless it's specified otherwise. So probably the biggest exception that's going to be if people are doing dry runs for their impact presentation in their local group, then we won't be recording that talk, so that people can then enjoy it more at Meteor Impact itself. Another type of meetings that's not going to be recorded are the socials, which is going to be happening after this presentation, so in 5 minutes. And that one is just a general get together, like hangout, where people can talk about much anything, either related to the presentation itself, or just meeting and telling other people what they are up to. Or as we had at one discussion at Meteor Impact about the different teas we drink and other related things that we do in our free time. Right, so last I guess I started not to drink war. So one last chance for a question. This can be again about anything related to any of those resources I mentioned here, or about Meteor Impact or meetups themselves. Just so why Slack and not Rocket Chat? That's a good question. Who knows, we might switch, but it just kind of evolved organically. Kelly started it, and then just everybody went with it. That's how usually things happen when you have kind of loose organizations and everything. I think personally that given certain restriction, there is a good argument to switch to Rocket Chat, and that's, I think, a good thing to talk about. The problem is that sadly, since we kind of already started on Slack, transitioning to something new would be painful, but that's definitely a valid question. So Lauren, thank you for that question, and that's something that we might start talking about, and we'll take a look, because right now we are running on the free Slack plan, which means that we are losing our history, which might not be necessarily good, especially when we are talking about how to solve different problems. That's something probably that we want to have kind of searchable. Any plans for monetizing or sustaining MCP, which relates to my personal endeavor of supporting Meteor as indie developer? So that's from Harry Adele. Yes, we are in talks about how to well, not necessarily monetize MCP, but how to ensure that community developers and people who help drive Meteor forward and Meteor packages can get some sponsorships. We had companies already reach out to us that they want to sponsor us, but going individual sponsorship is time consuming for them, and it's not really that they often can do because of how their corporate structure is set up. So we are currently looking at different options, and I'll leave it at that. I'm definitely pushing this myself, as Harry mentioned in the question, because I would say there are other people as well, would like to spend more time and do more quality content for Meteor themselves. So, okay, one last call for questions. Going once, going twice. And that's it for that. I would like to thank you for your attention. If you like what I'm doing, I have a GitHub sponsorship, so please check that out, and I'll be happy if you want to join me there, as I am trying to become more of a indie developer or independent developer with Meteor. And I think now it's time to switch to our social and just talk whatever comes to mind. Hopefully, if you haven't asked any question up till now, it's a good place to ask and also meet everybody else who is here. So again, thank you much for your attention, and I hope to see you around Meteor Meetups and at Meteor Impact and all over the community as we move forward. Thank you very much.